Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to block out your scene and how to adjust the pivoting on your objects. So first things first, open up Maya, go to your isometric room in the current project area over here, and then click on Recents, Extrude. Now if you don't have this, you can open up your folder, go to Scenes, with Maya open, make sure Maya is open first, and then in your scenes, click on the file you want to open. So extrude. Okay. Now because we're on blocking, let's resave our scene. So file, save scene as. We're going to call this one lesson 2 blocking. So lesson 2 underscore blocking my ASCII file. Save as. See? It's right there. Right in scenes. Perfect. Now, let me show you guys how to do a couple things. So first off, let's make a cube. And we're going to isolate this selection. So there's a button right up here. Right up here. It looks like a blue square with a little mouse on it. You want to click on that. So right here in your viewport. It will hide everything else except for my selected object. So if I have both my isometric room and my cube selected, and then I click on it, both of those objects are selected, both of them will isolate. Now if I only have one selected at a time, it'll isolate that individual object. Now on to pivoting. So I'm going to have my translate tool on, which is W, or the button over here. And you can see how a normal translate looks like this. Now when I'm changing the pivot mode, I click on D, and watch how it changes. See how it changes? I'll click on it again, D. So this allows me to change the location of my pivot. Now, normally, when I rotate a cube, it rotates from the center. See that? But if I change the pivot, say I move it over here, now the rotation changes to that pivot point. That's pretty cool. Same with scaling. Because my pivot's over here, now it will scale according to the pivot point, which is kind of janky. I like having it in the middle most of the time. It just depends on what you're doing. So I want to show you how to move this pivot and attach it to either an edge, a face, or a vertice. Okay, so first things first, go to pivot edit, which is D. You can tell because it has this weird box. And then up here, there's these different magnets, okay? You want to click on the middle one. It looks like a magnet with a dot. See that filled in dot? This is snap to points, okay? It moves the selection or the selected item to the nearest control, vertex, or pivot point, okay? So, with that turned on, when I move one of these arrows, see that goes directly to that face. If I move it over here, it goes to the points. So you want it to go on a face and drag it over. You can click on an edge too if you want it on that specific edge. That's pretty useful. Okay, and then D to confirm. Now, if you don't like that this is upside down, one extra thing you can do, but not required, is go to your tool, whatever tool you're using over here, double click it. You should get a pop-up window that looks like this. You can change the axis orientation to object or world. I would not mess with anything else. So I want to make mine world. Okay, so now everything is set to the world. It doesn't matter what I click on, it will always point in these 3 directions. Now, why the heck is this important? Let me add another cube. I'll show you why. Oh, let me turn off this snap to points, because now it wants to snap to the other cube. So you can turn it off up here. I'm going to move this cube over, and let's pretend this is a wall. So I want to scale it up. You don't have to do this part. I'm just showing you as an example. So I want to scale it up. I want to turn on this button just so you can see a little bit easier. Now that my pivot point is right here, I'm going to translate it to this wall with that snapping magnet button. Okay? I've got the snapping magnet button on. I'm going to click on this arrow, and boom, look at that. It is right there on that wall. Now when I click on the magnet button, turn that off. Now I can move my cube around, and it is right on that wall. Nice and flush. One more cool thing about having the pivot point right there is what I mentioned earlier. If I scale it, and the pivot point's there, if I scale it out, now it's not going to go inside this piece of geometry. So let me go to this mode. So see how it's not going inside? If I make the pivot point back to the center, now both sides are moving. So that's a pretty cool feature. Okay. So now you can scale it, you can rotate it, all from that pivot point. Pretty cool. Okay. Now let's make a couch. Let's make a couch. So I'm going to create a cube. I'm going to isolate it with this isolation button up here. Whoops, double clicked it. So I isolated it. I'm going to scale it out. I want to adjust it how I'd like. And then in my modeling toolkit over here, right over here, I'm going to click on face. So I can click on a side. I can extrude it out. Now right now I'm doing a smart extrude. So I can click on a face. I have my translate button on. I hold down shift and then drag one of these arrows. So I can pull that out. I'm going to go to the top, do another smart extrude. Hold down shift to pull it out. And now I have a very, very basic couch. Okay, check that out. Look at my couch. Pretty cool. And now I want to change the pivot point to the bottom. So, how do I enter pivot mode? You click on the D key. I'm going to look at the bottom of my couch, and I can just click on this line. Sweet. Nice. And that's it. Click on D to confirm. And we'll fix these arrows later. Make sure they're pointing in the proper directions, but for now it's fine. We're going to exit this isolation mode. Then we're going to snap it onto our foundation on the ground. Okay? Click on the snapping button up here, the magnet with the dot. You're going to drag this arrow up till you get those green lines right on the floor. Check that out. Nice. And it's a little big, so let's scale it down with R. Let's scale it down. If you did the pivot point correctly, you should scale and not go through the floor. Just going to scale it until I like it. Just personal preference. And yeah, simple as that. Now we have, whoops, now we have a couch. Make sure to turn off that snap to pivot. Check that out. Now we have a couch. Yeah. Now I'll show you how to make a shelf, and then everything else will be up to you. You can check out the assignment for more details up on Schoology. So let's make a simple shelf. So I create a cube. I want to put a shelf on this wall. So what I do, I change the pivot. When I go to that snapping button. Click on D. I'm going to move it. See how it snaps to that face over there? Click on D to confirm. Now I can move my cube to the wall. Should be right on the wall. Yep. And to make a shelf, all I need to do is scale. So I can scale, do some more scaling. Nice simple shelf. Can move it around. Whoops. See, I forgot to click on that button too. So if it did that, make sure that snapping is turned off. I'm going to put my shelf over here. And to just save a little bit of time, I can duplicate my shelf two ways. Hold down Shift while you have the translate on and that you have object mode on. Hold down Shift, you should get a little clone icon where your mouse is. You can drag it down to clone. Or you can do Command D. Command D. So that's how I can make some quick shelves. And because I changed the pivot point, all I need to do to make a picture frame is to scale it. So now I can scale it to make a nice picture frame. And I can just repeat this process. Until I get all the picture frames that I want. Now the style is up to you, but definitely use the simple geometry first. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, make sure on Schoology you check your checklist to make sure you have all the items you have to make, but that's the basics of blocking and pivoting. And last but not least, save your scene. So File, Save Scene. File, Save Scene. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions in class.